All right, so here we are at the end of April, which means our March stats are available. So it's time to get into the numbers and talk about our market update for Polk County, Florida. Closed sales, we had 1,334 closed sales. That's compared to 1,497 a year ago, a decrease of 10.9%. So overall, the feeling has been that the market is slowing, and that certainly seems to prove to be the case based on those numbers. Cash sales, the percentage of closed sales, 23.5% of all sales were cash sales. That's compared to 23.8% a year ago, a decrease of 1.3%. Median sales price in Polk County is $320,590. That's compared to $316,000 a year ago, an increase of 1.5%. So despite the fact that sales were slower, prices did actually go up just a little bit year over year. The average sales price is $333,089 compared to $328,522. That's an increase of 1.4%, so not much difference between the median and the average sales price for Polk County. Median percent of original list price. Sellers received 96.9% of original list price. That's compared to 96.5% a year ago, so it went up 0.4%, so really pretty much unchanged there. How long is it taking to sell a home in Polk County? Right now it's taking 47 days for a home to go under contract, compared to 39 days a year ago, an increase of 20.5%. So once again, closed sales are down, and it's taking longer to sell a home. And then median time to sale or closing is 94 days compared to 87 days a year ago, an increase of 8%. And really that difference is just because it's taking longer to get the home under contract in the first place. New pending sales, 1,623 compared to 1,566 a year ago, an increase of 3.6%. New listings, 1,884 compared to 1,571 a year ago, an increase of 19.9%. So inventory is definitely on its way up, which is good news for home buyers. Of course, the problem with that is that interest rates are also on the way up. Pending inventory, 2,099 compared to 2,128, a decrease of 1.4%. Active inventory, 4,901 homes. This is all property types are active in Polk County. That's compared to 3,159, an increase of 55.1%. So that's a combination of homes taking longer to sell, as well as an increase of new listings. And then month supply of inventory, we're at 3.9 month supply of inventory compared to 2.4 month supply of inventory a year ago, an increase of 62.5%. Still a seller's market, but working closer towards a more balanced market. Tune in and we'll talk a little bit more about what this means for you as a buyer or seller. So as we look at what these numbers mean, what we're seeing is, of course, all of this is happening under the backdrop of rising interest rates. Unfortunately, the inflation numbers weren't very good, the last inflation report, and so it's very unlikely the Federal Reserve is going to lower short-term interest rates, which likely means that mortgage rates will stay above 7%. At least for the foreseeable future, even though the Fed has indicated they will lower interest rates later on in the year. Perhaps when that happens, we'll see the mortgage rates drop as well. So that is underlying everything. At the same time, we are seeing an increase in listings. New listings are up both Winter Haven and Polk County. So that is good news if you're a home buyer, because it means there are more options out there for you. Here's the thing, because home prices really aren't being impacted thus far. They're staying relatively stable. And I think that is because while inventory is up, it is still not enough to meet the pent-up demand that is out there. And when mortgage rates drop, what's going to happen is buyers are going to flood the market, those that are just waiting for those mortgage rates to drop, and it's going to quickly take over the inventory we have, and drop that month supply of inventory down pretty quickly to a more extreme seller's market. So for a buyer, I think if you can manage the higher interest rate, now is a good time to buy before those rates drop and the competition increases. And that is because of the increase of inventory, sellers are having to compete a little more to attract fewer buyers than, for example, were out there during the pandemic, and then would be out there if mortgage rates drop. And so that means for you as a buyer, you might be able to get more seller concessions. So you might even get a seller contribution to closing costs. You might be able to get sellers to help pay your rate down, which is probably the way I would go. And so you may end up being able to get a better deal. You may also not have to pay full price for the home right now. So there's a lot of room for you to negotiate as a home buyer right now that won't exist when mortgage rates drop. If you're a home seller, there's a reason that the builders are doing so well right now, and that is because they're offering incentives. Every builder I know of is offering closing cost assistance. They're buying the rate down, not just for 1 or 2 years, but for the life of the loan. And that is causing home buyers to flock to new construction right now. And so how do you compete with that as a seller? Well, you do the same thing. You offer some seller concessions on your home. So if you are looking to list your home, that's something to keep in the back of your mind, that you really may want to consider some kind of bonus or some kind of incentive, either closing costs or rate buy down. Be prepared to negotiate. Don't expect to get your list price unless your home is in pristine condition, fully updated, in a desirable neighborhood. There's going to be negotiation. Expect there to be inspections. Buyers are not going to waive those right now. Expect there to be appraisal contingencies as well. Buyers are not going to waive those right now. So pricing your home right, having it in excellent condition, and being prepared to offer incentives is the best way you can get your home sold quickly. If you'd love to discuss any of this about what's happening in the market in more detail, I'm always available to talk about what's happening in the real estate market. I try to pay very close attention to what's happening and to the numbers, because there's a lot of doom and gloom out there. There's a lot of misinformation that's being presented by various news outlets about what's happening in the real estate market that are not based on any numbers and statistics. And really, the numbers tell the story, and that's what you got to pay attention to. So if you want to discuss the real estate market, please reach out. If there are specific topics about the real estate market that you'd like to cover, please let me know. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'd love to have you on here. And of course, if you or someone you know is looking to buy or sell a home in Polk County or Central Florida, I would love the opportunity to interview for the job. Have a great day, everybody.